In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
Editor's note. What follows is a transcript of a 45-minute lecture given by Milton William Cooper on November 17th, 1989 at the Whole Life Expo in Los Angeles, California. His speech was transcribed word for word from a microcassette recording. For those of you who don't know who I am, I was raised in a military family. My ancestors, since they came to this country, have been government people. We have served in the military, and we have been patriots. We have fought in all the wars. We care about this country and believe in the Constitution of the United States. And we know many people don't know that the Constitution of the United States of America is the United States of America. And that we have always been ready to do the things needed to preserve and protect it. When I left home, I went into the Air Force, the Strategic Air Command. And as a child, I heard stories from my father and pilots, other pilots. My father was a pilot about Foo Fighters, UFOs, strange craft that were not made on this earth. And as a kid, you hear that in passing, and it's neat, and you giggle about it. And when you go out and play Spaceman, and then you forget about it.
Take control of your destiny. Understand your past, put your present in context, and know your future with a twist. Check out the designs and watch the videos about Abracast Tarot Card Deck on Advertise.com. When you order a deck, get a free exclusive bonus tarot card. Also, sign into the mailing list to get a free ebook about the Abracast Tarot Card Deck and other bonus content. Visit the storefront on Abracast.com. The Abracast, occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Please note the explicit content indicator. This means that I use adult language. I do not speak in a humorless, public radio hushed monotone. I am excited and enthusiastic about the information that I present and the topics I discuss. You will hear ice rattle in my glass throughout the show. On the show, I joke about bodily functions, sex acts, religion, and politics. The topics may seem random or scattered through the back catalog. A list of show topics in chronological order is provided on the featured topic link at Abercast.com. If any of these issues might trigger you, this might not be the podcast for you, and I wish you good luck finding a show more to your liking. It's that time again. The music is low. The party is over. The fire is dying down, and all the ordinary people passed out long ago. Now we are the only ones left. Welcome to the Fellowcraft episode, the UFO Conspiracy. You guys know who I am. I'm John. I thought we'd have a lot of fun this month with the Fellowcraft episode, so I chose something a little bit more unorthodox, and that's saying something, I think. So you guys all know the drill. Here's to you. Throw up a toast to my supporters, you guys. Thank you very much. Let's see, which one shall we do? Another day, another bender, no retreat, and no surrender. So today's featured topic, or featured content, featured speech, I guess, whatever, is exactly what I said in the cold open. It's a transcription of a speech by this cat, William Cooper, Milton William Cooper. Sometimes they call him Bill. Anyhow, this guy, he's going to talk a little bit about his bona fides here. And he's a well-known dude. So some of you guys, probably you are familiar with this guy, or you might have seen him on a documentary or something somewhere. But yeah, so the Fellowcraft episodes have been on this streak of like in search of kind of topics. So I didn't want to break the streak. So I thought we would circle back around and do another UFO episode, and here straight from the mouth of Milton William Cooper. We'll pick it up right here. When I was in the Air Force, I met men who had participated in alien crashed craft recoveries. Now, this intrigued me. It interested me, but it was usually after quite a few bottles of beer that these stories would come out, and sometimes the next morning I couldn't remember what the heck the guy had said. All right, so this is in 89. So this guy went to the Air Force, left home to go to the Air Force. So he was young. So they were probably talking about these crashed recovery sites, like the well-known ones, the Roswell, the Kecksburg. Kecksburg was in the 50s or maybe early 60s. We talked about the Kecksburg crash in the Mandela Effect episode, if any of you guys are interested in that. When I left the Air Force, I went into the Navy, and this is where everything began to happen for me. I had originally intended to just go from service to service and do something that very few people have ever done. It was very adventurous and very crazy. I had thought that would be pretty exciting life. I volunteered for submarines, and on the submarine USS Tyroot SS-416 on a transit between Portland, Seattle area and Pearl Harbor, which was our home port. The Pearl Harbor subbase as the port lookout, I saw a craft, saucer-shaped, the size of a Midway class aircraft carrier. For those of you who don't know how big that is, it's fucking huge. All right, so the transcript is word for word. The reading is not. Come out of the water approximately 2.5 nautical miles of the port bow, which is about 45 degrees to the left of the pointy end of the submarine, and tumbled slowly on its own axis and went up into the clouds, and it appeared to be moving slowly to me at a distance of 2.5 nautical miles, but in reality it was moving pretty fast because it came up out of the water. It did a few tumbles and boom, it was gone. I then reported it to the officer of the deck. Deck officer! I didn't tell him what it was or that I saw because my daddy didn't raise no fool. And in case nobody else saw it, I didn't want to be the only loony on board the ship. So I asked the officer on the deck to help me cover that area, and he did, which is common for officers and lookouts to help each other while on the bridge watch, because they all hang together. It's if something bad happens after a few seconds of watching the same craft or another craft exactly like it came down out of the clouds, tumbled again on its own axis, and went into the water. So what he's talking about is in modern ufology, they are making distinctions between unidentified unidentified submerged objects and unidentified flying objects. So there's this whole subgenre of ufology of these underwater submerged objects. I am not exactly sure what the distinction is, because unless it stays submerged, I don't know how do you see it if it stays submerged? In most of the cases that I know of, USOs become UFOs. That's how we see them, and vice versa. Just like in this thing. Ensign, what a tragic name. Ensign Ball, who was the officer of the deck, was literally shocked. What could I say? Seaman Diligimaro, who was the starboard lookout, had also witnessed this, and Ensign Ball called the captain to the bridge, who was followed by the chief quartermaster, who brought a 35 millimeter camera. And we watched for between 7 and 10 minutes the same craft or different craft that looked exactly like it enter and leave the water. It was an incredible show. I don't know if they knew we were there or if they even gave a fuck. But the craft did not glow. They were metal. They were machines, without a doubt. And they were obviously intelligently guided. They were huge. And having been in the Air Force and the Navy and knowing what it takes, I knew without a doubt, and know it today, that that machine was not made on the face of this earth. Because there is nothing that man could make that can fly through the air at speeds like that, tumble on its own axis, and then enter the water and effectively fly beneath the sea. If you've ever been aboard an airplane and then gone aboard a submarine, I know there's probably some of you in this room who have visited submarines at one time or another. You can readily see, just without even any of the technicalities involved, how different such a thing would be to do. Where would it be built? That size. It was absolutely incredible. It changed my life, because then all the stories that I heard in my life I knew were true. And I began seeing the world in a different light. This is a paradigm-shifting event for this gentleman. It wasn't long after that I was trained by the Naval Security and Intelligence that I was sent to Vietnam. Yeah, I was assigned as a patrol boat captain, first in Da Nang Harbor, given a crew, given a multi-million-dollar patrol boat. My job was to gather intelligence from the people who lived around the harbor and the fishermen who transited the harbor, and maintain the safety and security of the harbor and the shipping. After about 5 months, I was sent up north to the DMZ, demilitarized zone, to a place called Qua Vief on the Tacan River. Our base camp was at the river mouth. We were only 3 miles south of the North Vietnamese border, and our job was to patrol the Tacan River mouth to Da Nang, and then to Quang Tri, cut off to Quang Tri City again to get to know the people on the bank, gather intelligence and to patrol every night to maintain safety and security of the river and the river traffic. In Vietnam, these were called, I believe, the Brown Navy. The Brown Water Navy, maybe? Yeah, so they were Navy dudes operating in these in brown rivers, as opposed to the blue Navy, I suppose, of the oceans. Or the green Navy, the Aquamarine Navy. It was there that I discovered that there was a tremendous amount of UFO and alien activity in Vietnam. It was always reported in official messages as enemy helicopters. Now, any of you who know anything about Vietnam War know that the North Vietnamese did not have any helicopters, especially after our first couple air raids into North Vietnam. Well, I mean, I've seen Rambo, and I know that the Russians were supporting the North Vietnamese with helicopters. But whatever. Even that's my whole base. That's my whole knowledge base of Vietnam is Rambo movies. Even if that's not true. I was just making a joke. I'm joking about myself. I'm making fun of myself. Even if they had, they would not have been so foolish as to bring them over the DMZ, because that would have ensured their demise. Our troops were fired on occasionally by these enemy helicopters, and enemy troops were fired on occasionally by these enemy helicopters. And occasionally people would disappear. On one instance that I know of for sure, at least one entire village disappeared one night because of alien activity. There was a lot of stretched buttholes that night. The reason they used the term enemy helicopters and messages and dispatches was that in Vietnam, you could be overrun at any time, no matter where you were. They did not bring crypto encoding equipment into Vietnam. That's wrong. They had crypto. They had crypto encoding. They had crypto on their radios in Vietnam. I mean, I just know this. They had Prick 77. They call PRC-77. They're called Prick 77s. They had Prick 77s and they had KY 38. Man packs. It's part of the Nestor system. So they totally had crypto radio. I mean, patrols had them. I'm not just saying base camps had these things. Like, they were portable. They had patrol people, soldiers on patrols had crypto radios. Anyhow, whatever this guy's talking about. I'm talking about the machinery. What we did is we had crypto tables, and once every 24 hours, those codes would be no good. So that's what we used. We also, because of the inability to use crypto transmitting equipment, which they had the ability, I mean, we had to devise code words such as enemy helicopters. When I left Vietnam, I was eventually attached to the headquarters staff of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet at Macalpa, Hawaii, which is this little hill overlooking Pearl Harbor. And it was beautiful, a white building up there. And I was specifically attached to the intelligence briefing team to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet. It was during this tour of duty that in the course of my duties, documents were placed in my hands that were so unbelievable, There's a lot of shit about this that's unbelievable all of a sudden, and so incredible that it took me quite a while to adjust to the fact that what I was seeing was real. Now, for those of you who don't understand how I could come to see this information, let me give you a little short course in security clearance and the need to know, and how you get to see classified information if you're in the military or in the government. It doesn't matter. Which the rules are the same, unless you're Hillary Clinton. Got her. Number one, you will need a security clearance, and you've got to have clearance at the level of that information. You want to see what you want to see is classified at. In the instance, it was classified top secret, magic, restricted information, which I came to find out later is the highest security classification in the nation. This is all bullshit. Having been in the Army, I know there's only 3 levels of classified information. There are 3 levels of personal clearance as far as the military is concerned. Now, what he's talking about, the military and the government's security clearances are the same. I don't know if that's true or not, but in the Army, in the military, the 3 levels are confidential, secret, and top secret. That's it. That's it. I have a security clearance, or I don't know if I still have one, but I definitely did have one when I was in. As everybody does. Everybody has one when they're in. But back to it. To get that type of clearance, all you have to do is Federal Bureau of Investigation background check, which takes about 6 months, and they send federal agents to your home and to your old schools and to your teachers and to your friends and to everybody you put down on your security clearance forms, to all your old addresses and your neighbors and everybody that you've worked for. And it's embarrassing because they don't tell them what they're checking on. They just show up with their identification and start asking questions. And that's when you find out who's your friend and who's not, because a lot of people get scared and think Bill just robbed the fucking bank. I'm not talking to him anymore. Now, once you get that, it's called a BI. And for those of you who have not received a copy of my service record, to look on the first page, the DD-214. Now, the DD-214 is basically like the summary of your military career. It's a document that gets issued to you, that you have, and it has like a record of all the commendations you have ever had, where you've been deployed, like your rank. It's basically like, it's like the stats or something of your military form. They tell you not to lose it. They say, don't fucking lose this, because the only copy we keep is in fucking Missouri somewhere, and it takes like 3 years to fucking get it back. Now, since the advent of the internet and all that stuff, it might be easier. I don't know. Anyhow, just to explain what a DD-214 is. And by the way, the first thing I did when I got out of the Army is I lost my DD-214. I have no idea where the fuck it is. But apparently, where it says security clearance, you will see the term BI. That's Bureau of Investigation clearance. Now, from that point, you have the clearance for everything, including top secret and above. Again, in the military, there's nothing above top secret. Like, there's no such thing as a your eyes only, I'm just saying, what determines what you get to see is your need to know. And the job that you have determines what your need to know is. I was assigned to the intelligence briefing team of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who had to know everything concerning his area of operations, which was one half of the Earth's surface, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and all the land masses in between. Believe it or not, if we ever go to war, it is the United States Navy that strikes the first blow and attempts to keep the enemy at bay. While we can get ourselves together, at least historically, nuclear weapons have kind of done away with that concept, but military commanders like to talk about it anyways. Because of this, and you have no conception of the amount of material and information that an area commander has to know. It's unbelievable. He has to keep track of all this. He has to keep on top of it. And he has to know what is happening. He has to make the right decisions, because it's almost humanly impossible for anyone to do that. They have what's called a briefing team, and it's our job to make sure that he has the correct information at all times on a 24-hour basis. And every morning between 8 and 9, we would give a briefing which covered anything that happened the previous 24 hours. And everything scheduled to happen in the next 24 hours. And all the pertinent intelligence reports that we have received since the last briefing, that he needed to know and that his staff members needed to know. Occasionally, we would get messages marked top secret, magic, restricted information, and it would be coded in such a way that all you had were answers to questions which you didn't know what the questions were, so you really didn't know what the message was all about. But eventually I found myself in possession holding two documents, one called Project Grudge, another one called Operation Majority. Grudge contained the history of alien involvement since around 1936, and it began to talk about Germany's involvement with the crashed disk that they had recovered in 1936. They were attempting to duplicate the technology. They were not successful, despite all these Nazi hunters want to tell you. If they had been successful, we would not have won the war, because you cannot beat those weapons. You cannot outfly those crafts. You can't even think about it with conventional aircraft. If Germany had been successful, we would now have a German flag in front of this podium. They did make some headway. They went into Putamundi. They captured documents. We got some scientists. We got some hardware. The Russians also got documents, some scientists, and some hardware. It wasn't until 1947 that we were able to capture a craft together, but it was everything. And that occurred near the city of Roswell, New Mexico. So what he's talking about briefly here is what's now in pop culture is called, it's called Operation Paperclip. And what had happened when the shit hit the fan in Stalingrad and the shit hit the fan in Berlin, and the Russians and we were taking military scientific research posts and bases and installations. These scientists were surrendering. They're like, put your fucking guns down. We're surrendering. And they all hoped to surrender to the Americans, because nobody wanted to go to fucking Russia. Even then, nobody fucking wanted to go to Russia. Everyone's like, fuck these communists. We want to surrender to Americans. And this was Operation Paperclip, where basically we agreed to expunge any war crimes that they might have committed. And we took them in. And we used them. We used them in the space race, in the technology areas. There's Werner von Braun, who was in NASA, the father of the space program. He was not the father of the American space program. He basically took all the research and all the technology for the V2 missiles, or V2 rockets that the Germans were, the National Socialist, the Nazis were firing into Britain, and they were like, okay, what we got to do is we got to take this warhead off, and we have to put a little cockpit up there. There were dead aliens recovered from the craft. Project Grudge, I saw photographs of these dead aliens, of the craft. I saw a photograph of live aliens. I saw photographs of autopsies, internal organs. I saw photographs of alien designated EB, Echo Bravo, or EBE, Echo Bravo Echo, which was held in captivity from 1949 until June 2nd, 1952, when he died. EBEs, or EB, is a term. It's extraterrestrial biological entity, or extraterrestrial biological entity. I don't know what the EB is, but in EBE, extraterrestrial biological entity. I saw the history of what they had been able to do at the time together, from incidents in the 1800s, which involved aliens and their craft, and I saw the names of projects. I saw a project that was to fly recovered alien craft that had been recovered intact and undamaged, and some of them were recovered intact and undamaged, and now that happened, or how that happened, I have no idea. It was called Project Red Light, and was first conducted from the Tonopah test range in Nevada test site, and then was moved to a specifically built area, built by President Eisenhower. We all know what the next thing is. It was called Area 51, codenamed Dreamland, in the Groom Lake area. of Nevada test site by secret executive order. It doesn't exist officially. If you ask anyone, if you write a letter to the government, they would tell you it does not exist. However, if you go out there at several places and see it, fly outside of the boundaries and look down and see it, you know it's there. And according to the government, it doesn't exist. The project to fly and test these crafts was ongoing until sometime in 1962 when a craft blew up not far from the test site. In the air, the explosion was seen over a 3-state area. Pilots were killed. They had no idea what had happened or why the craft blew up. They put Project Red Light on hold until a later date when the aliens supplied us with 3 craft and personnel to help us learn how to fly these crafts. The project is ongoing, and we now have not only alien craft that we are flying, but we have craft that we have built using captured technology. Some of the UFOs that people report seeing in the United States and maybe even elsewhere are flown by the United States personnel. That might come as a shock to you that we have technology way beyond the limits of what we have been told. And a lot of our developmental technology since the end of World War II has been due to the exchange of technology which occurs in the area called Area 51 on a regular basis. Ongoing. When James Oberth, Professor Oberth, retired, many of you don't know who he is. Not too many space people in here. Professor Oberth was probably one of the greatest rocket scientists and space commentators that ever lived. When he retired, the government gave him a special award. There was a press conference. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty of all this. All kinds of ceremony. And when he got up to speak, he said, "Gentlemen," and I quote Professor Oberth, he said, "Gentlemen, we cannot take credit for all the technological developments that we have had in the last decade. We have had help." And that's where he stopped. One of the reporters raised his hand and said, "Professor Oberth, can you tell us what other country helped us?" And he said, "Nay." He said it was those little guys from out in space. And then he got down and he would not comment further. Now, this occurred in 1959. I could go on, but time doesn't allow it.
Are you interested in the occult, history, conspiracy, and violence? Learn more at Advertise.com. Find more episodes on this topic. Sign up for the mailing list for bonus content. Get access to the show archive. And visit the storefront for tarot cards, merch, and books. Learn more at Advertise.com.
All right, we're going to get back to this. All right, so he's still rambling here. Okay, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that there are all kinds of things going on all the time, and we are making rapid progress in exposing this. Since I have begun talking, people have been coming out of the woodwork at a rapid rate who know and have pieces of this puzzle and are helping us to put it together. But I don't have all the answers. I saw an awful lot of material. I have remembered an awful lot of it. And have probably, in my remembering, have made some mistakes. And I guarantee you they are minor ones if I have. We have just recently, for those of you who didn't believe that the Jason Society, the Jason Scholars, the secret group existed, we now have a letter from the Pentagon with 51 names of the Jason Scholars, an admission from the Pentagon that they hold the highest security clearance in the nation. It was double magic zero. Admission from the Pentagon that they hold the protocol rank of Rear Admiral, and they are treated as such on any military installation or in any government office. There are 6 Nobel Prize winners on that list. There are the elite of the scientific world, and they are the only ones who really know the truth about the technology today and about the real science of physics, because the one that we are being taught all the time, if you send your kids to college to learn physics, you're wasting your fucking money, because they're teaching them stuff that does not work. It's not true. It's not real. Gravity is not what we think it is. It is a unified theory. We already know what it is. It's what makes these crafts work. It's absolutely incredible what's going on. How many of you keep up with Billy Goodman's show on KVEG out of Las Vegas? For those of you who don't, I would try tuning in on any night between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. It's 840 on your AM dial. The subject every night are those subjects that no other media person in the United States will touch with a 10-foot pole. Every single night, except Saturday. It's the only show that you can call and talk to another caller. You've got 3 minutes to say whatever you want to say, as long as you don't cuss or swear. Cussing and swearing is the same fucking thing. Or slander anyone. Every night they're helping to expose this. When John Lear and I first said what was going on at Groom Lake, everybody said, "You're nuts. There's nothing going on out at Groom Lake." The listeners of the Billy Goodman Show put together an excursion, and they went up to Groom Lake. And they all, ever since, every night they go up there and they watch them test fly the alien craft. Every night. The first night they had 100 people there, and 100 people saw 4 alien craft flying, doing things that no airplane, no helicopter could do. They don't tell us anymore that there's nothing happening at Groom Lake. What they tell us now is that there's no such things as aliens. It's all government. Secret projects. It's okay because we'll prove that wrong too eventually. It just takes a while, because where we were, it's not where we're at. I'm really happy about that. Now, if you want to see something that's happening right now, keep watching your movies, keep watching your television commercials, your alien programs on television. Okay, so this was 89. So what are they talking about? Talking about the original V. Talking about V for sure. That's when the Nazi, the aliens, their little logo was like just 2 points off of from being a swastika, and they came down saying that they were going to be here to save the environment, but they were stealing water or something. They were stealing our water or something, and then they were actually reptiles. Fuck, man, I remember when that chick ate that rat or ate the mouse on fucking television. I loved that shit. And then like Beastmaster was like the main good guy in it. And the oh fuck, Michael Ironsides was in it. He was like the bad good guy. He was like the hard-edged foil, but he was still a good guy. But he was willing to do, you know, just something that was like 2 steps outside of Beastmaster's comfort zone. He was like the, you know the kind of guy I'm talking about. He was like the Han Solo. Jesus, man, that takes me back. 89. So what else are we looking at as far as alien TV programs? Alf. Alf was out there. I fucking loved Alf too, man. Gordon Shumway. That shit. You know, I'm a cat lover at heart. Like, cats are my jam. But also, Alf was pretty cool. And there's like, obviously, Twilight Zone, Lost in Space. My favorite Martian. Back to it. You read Whitley Strieber's Majestic, which in a part of this contingency plan called Majestic to test the reaction of the population to the presence of aliens on Earth. And I have just finished my study of Whitley Strieber's book, Majestic. And I'm going to tell you right now that most of these documents in there that he says are fiction are real documents that came right out of Project Grudge. It's part of the government's campaign to leak information out in ways that they can always deny that is real. There's only one thing wrong with the information in that book. The stories of those characters in there I know nothing about. What I'm talking about are there's supposed government documents that he has in that book. I'm telling you tonight, they're real. And some of those same documents that I saw in Project Grudge back between 1970 and 1973, where we have wondered before now, we know that Whitley Strieber is working for the government. He had a suspicion anyways, because in the front of the book, he states that he got information and was helped by his research by a team of Moore, Shanderly, and Friedman. William Moore has publicly admitted on July 1st that he is an agent of the United States government. And we know that others are too. This is going to come out. And the reason they're doing it the way they're doing it is they know eventually they're going to find out that it's all true. It's all real. They're desensitizing you so that you are not shocked. So there's no collapse of society as we know it. So that the religious structure doesn't fall to pieces, so that the stock market doesn't go crazy, because these were their original fears. Now, there's nothing we can do about the last one because it's already happened. There will be a segment of the population that worships these aliens, even though they're no different from us. They're just from somewhere else, and they may look a little different. But they are not gods. But they are already people worshiping the aliens. And they predicted this would happen. And that is why they slapped the secret stamp all over this stuff. All right. There's a lot more to this. But I'm running out of time. So, my friends, my supporters, my fellow countrymen, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I tried not to get too critical with this guy. Try to give him a fair shake, but we have a ton more. This might actually become like a little series. We have a ton more of information from this. So let me know what you think about it. If you enjoyed it, if you want me to shift gears and do something else. But I'll at least finish this section of it. This is about the halfway point. So there's at least one more episode in here, but possibly way more. Let me know what you think. I'm John. This is the Advertise. Yeah. So here we go.
Thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. Please send an email or find us on social media and let us know what you think about the show. We would appreciate it if you would give us a 5-star rate and review wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can find Stigmata Studios, graphic, novels, and comic books at Advertise.com.